what happened to empathy? Like, again, what happened to empathy? What happened to civil communication? The worst lies are the ones you tell yourself. Okay, like, we all saw that kiss and we all replayed it 10,000 times. I know, because I did it. Anyways, because that is a real and valid experience, and that is the experience of a lot of Black women, whether they're dating or navigating any type of situation outside in the real world. Those men did not understand her and who she is, and it seems like they didn't even seek to understand. I'm just so happy to see my Black woman being loved out loud and men not being afraid to express that love out loud. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Hi everyone, you're listening to Transplants, the advice podcast for 20-somethings moving to a new city and trying to navigate all the trials and tribulations that come with it. I'm your host Joyce, and when I moved from Dallas, Texas to Columbus, Ohio 3 years ago, I knew absolutely no one. Luckily, I had the help of my parents and I was starting my first job out of undergrad, but one, that didn't prepare me for all the challenges that I would face, and two, that's not the case for everyone. And thus, Transplants was born. One of the fun, humbling things that we as transplants, especially in our 20s, face is dating, and navigating that in a new city is humbling, not for the weak, I will say. We are going to get into all of that in today's episode in the context of Love Island vibes, because Love Island USA season 7 just ended, and that was a whirlwind for sure. Can I just say, this is why I only watch Love Island UK. Like, first of all, the accent's vibe, they're unmatched. Okay, my accent has not been that great because I haven't been watching the UK season, but give me a few episodes and I'll be back to it, okay? Thank you. In my humble opinion, the UK is always superior. This is the first time I'm watching USA because of the success of last season, and I feel like because of that, they were trying to do too much this season and trying to, live up to that hype and to that success, and because of that, the producers were definitely more involved, which, I mean, is not ideal, but their actions contributed to things that I was personally a fan of. Nicolandria Nation, we rise. Thank you. But this season was very interesting. It was giving Influencer Island. I need them to go back to their roots and like plug people off the street, people with less than 1,000, even less than 100 followers on social media, because everyone's giving clout chaser, but I digress. This season was definitely a whirlwind, and we're going to get into all of that, but Love Island as a show is just an interesting social experiment that really amplifies all of the bad things that are wrong with modern dating today, because you're putting all of these people in an enclosed environment with no screens, no books, no music, no nothing. So obviously all of these things are going to be brought to the forefront, and that's what I wanted to talk about today. There was people were moving mad babes. They were acting crazy this season, and we're going to get into all of that and kind of just have a discussion on all of the things that are wrong with modern dating today and how that applies to dating as a Black woman, because that is the experience that I am speaking from. And I feel like that's also been a large topic of discussion this season as well, with some of our beautiful key players, including Miss Alandria and Chelley. I want to start off with the men of this season. Can we please talk about the Ace, Chelley, and Austin love triangle? Like, did Chelley ever really like Austin? I don't think she did. She says she did, but the energy that she was giving, it was giving that she liked Ace more, but whatever. I know Ace has gotten a lot of different hate and different comments online, and I feel like in the beginning, he was doing all of his exploring, and in my opinion, I feel like that was just a front. Like, Chelley was always in the back of his mind. Why did you feel the need to do all of this exploring? I feel like he did it just so that he didn't look like a hypocrite when bashing Jeremiah for like going on Huda, but hey, I digress. In the end, they ended up together and they were one of the strongest couples. So happy for them. But the energy that he was having in the beginning, I was like, this is really irking me. But what really messed me up was how Austin was so like nonchalant in the love triangle. And then he would be complaining about Ace and Chelley, be like, dude, you know that you want her, like, just go for it, we can all see it, and blah blah blah. Like, girl, if you want her, then do what Ace is doing and show her that you want her and be intentional rather than just complaining because you're not going to get the girl. And he didn't end up getting the girl. You know, he's with his other couple now, but in that love triangle, I was like, girl, why are you being so nonchalant? And I feel like that's point number one. There's so many nonchalant men out here in this dating world. Like, can we bring back yearning? Can we bring back the ache and the chase and the like, as a lover girl? That is what we need. Like, we need people who are not afraid to chase people and love out loud. Like, why is everyone so like demure and like scared of pursuing people and scared of loving people out loud? I really don't like that. And I hate that people are taking such a nonchalant approach to dating and acting like we don't care, because at the end of the day, you do care. Everyone wants to find love. Everyone wants to find a partner in some sense. And there's no shame in expressing that with people and sharing that with the world. Like, it shouldn't be embarrassing to be dating and pursuing other people. You know what I mean? But I feel like nowadays it is embarrassing because girl, the market that we're navigating right now is just not a good time. But it's really, really unfortunate. Can we bring back yearning in 2025, please and thank you? I feel like we saw a little bit of that in the season, but for the most part, the men were very nonchalant. Especially another example, my man's Taylor, Mr. Three Dreads, that was not giving. At first, honestly, when he was like first in the villa, I really liked his personality. I liked how goofy he was. It honestly reminded me of me and my siblings. But then he started acting how he was acting with Miss Alandria. And I said, get him off the island and back on that ranch, picking up that horse poop. Because he does not deserve to be here doing all this. If he's doing all this, the way he was acting, again, all nonchalant, and then started doing stuff when Mr. Bombshell Jalen came in for Alandria. Very unfortunate. I didn't really clock his behavior until around then, or like kind of after then. I hate when men act all nonchalant and act like they don't care and, you know, not really investing time and energy, or appearing like they're not really investing time and energy into a relationship. And when that happens, I feel like, at least speaking from, you know, a heterosexual perspective, women can feel like desperate, or, you know, desperate to try and salvage that relationship, especially nowadays in the dating environment that we're in. It feels so tough to find like a decent guy, like just one good guy, you know what I mean? So when we find someone who's like even half decent or meets half of the things that we're looking for, I feel like it can be easy for women to do things that they may not want to do in order to keep that man, because it's like, am I going to find anyone else? I don't know. And that makes me so sad for my sisters, because I feel like we definitely saw that in this season, like that behavior from the women. But this is just a friendly reminder and PSA to all of my girlies dating men out there. There is someone out there for you. Okay, there's 7 billion people in this world. There has to be at least one. You know what I mean? Like, there has to be at least one. And truly, if you exist and the love that you have for the world and for others exists, then there has to be someone out there who matches that energy. You know what I mean? The odds are in your favor. English. The odds are in your favor. Like, there's somebody out there for you. They may not be in the town or city that you're in now, but they could be in Europe, you know? They could be in Asia. They could be halfway across the world right now. Eventually you'll find your way to each other, but as bleak as the dating market feels right now, there's someone out there. I promise. But yeah, that desperation can really have my girlies down bad and doing things that they may not necessarily want to do. And I feel like we saw that behavior in this season. It may not have been something that they may not, quote unquote, may not have wanted to do, but things that I feel like they didn't need to do. For example, my sister Alandria, when she did that photo booth picture and I think kissed it and signed it and left it in Taylor's dresser, I said, girl, stand up, please, stand up, stand up, stand up. I was so upset when she did that, because at that point it was very clear to at least us watching that this man did not like her. Obviously it wasn't clearly it wasn't obvious to her, but I just felt for my sister in that moment, because dang, she was not seeing the signs. And I mean, now she's seeing them, but in that moment it really hurt my heart that my sister was doing all these things. Eventually she got her lick back, but that moment really hurt me. And then I feel like we also saw this within Sierra, and honestly I didn't realize this until it was pointed out to me, but every time that Nick was expressing to Miss Girl that he was, interested in pursuing someone else or exploring, and, keeping his options open, it seemed like Miss Girl was, hunching in the bed with him. And I said, okay. And it was giving from, the cycle of events and the timeline of events. It was giving, I don't know if manipulation is the right word, but for lack of a better word, manipulation, because why are you doing this very intimate activity every time he's saying that he's interested in pursuing someone else or exploring someone else? You know what I mean? So that was like, I didn't really clock it until Nick and Sierra were on the date, and on the date she expressed like, after we were intimate, I really felt connected to you, and that's when I knew that, I wanted to be with you and whatever. And I said, girl, come on now. Like, speaking as a woman, of course you're gonna feel that way, like, after you do something like that with a man. You know what I mean? Like, of course you're gonna feel that way. So that was when I was like, girl, and I feel bad for my sisters, because why? I hate that women feel the need to like do things, whether it's like using their body or like compromising their morals or doing something in order to keep or pursue a man. Like, girl, if you're watching on YouTube, I keep making faces, but it really hurts my heart. And I feel like that's just a reflection of, at the end of the day, it's a reflection of you and who you are and how strong and steadfast you feel in your self-worth and your self-value. Not to say that the girls on this season of Love Island like hate themselves or anything like that, but this is just like a reminder, like, especially in the dating scene, it's so important for you to stay resilient in who you are and stay strong in who you are, because it's so easy for people to knock you down for whatever reason. And we saw that this season, especially with the women and even some of the men too, honestly. Like, that is what I would say is my biggest takeaway from this season, is like, stand 10 toes down in who you are. What did Amaya say? Last time I checked, I got 10 toes, not one of them cut off, so I'm gonna stand, what'd she say, firm on my 10 toes. Whatever she said, she popped off, and I would have to agree. Like, you need to stand 10 toes down in who you are and your values. And although, like, it seems like, especially if you're going on dates, you're just meeting people who are just like the wrong people over and over again, eventually someone will stick, and someone will resonate with who you are, your values, and what, you keep near and dear to your heart. But yeah, it was very interesting to see the way that people were moving throughout this season, especially Miss Huda. And although Miss Huda gave us great TV, the way she was moving in that villa, yo, I cannot believe. Also, Huda stans, please don't come for me in the comments. I'm literally just a girl who is giving her opinion. And although you may think my opinion is wrong, I'm just out here. I'm just out here trying to survive, okay, and build a little platform. I just need the platform, okay? But this is no hate to Huda. Like, I truly hope she gets the help that she needs after this show because I feel like she really needs it after watching her behavior in the villa. But can we just talk about, like, for real, if Huda was a man, like if a man was doing all of the things that Huda did in that villa, he would not have the supporters that Huda does. He would have been canceled immediately, left that villa immediately, have negative 10,000 followers, negative 10 million followers. Like, that would not fly. If a man was in the villa moving how Huda was moving, he would have been canceled immediately. And I am so flabbergasted that she has the amount of supporters that she does, and the double standards and the people supporting toxic behavior. I feel like that is also such a thing in the real world, especially in younger generations of women. Not to call people out, but to call people out. I feel like people are so quick to like cut people off over like one small mistake that may have just been like a miscommunication, like something got lost, but people are quick to be like, cut him off, like, you don't need him, this, that, and the third. And it's like, girl, there are valid opportunities and valid scenarios where that may be the case. But if it's over something small, like, girl, what happened to civil conversation? What happened to people being able to have a dialogue and communicate and to talk about their feelings? You know what I mean? Like, the supporting of the toxic behavior. And it's always like, I feel like for example, my brother, not to put my brother's business out there, but for example, my brother was telling me how he's been talking to this girl for a couple weeks now, and like he misinterpreted a situation and did something that I think set her off. It wasn't even anything crazy. Not to give too many details, but just in summary, nothing crazy happened. But she sent a text saying like, oh, I see that you did this. Like, I feel like you're projecting and it seems like this is not going to work out. Like, girl, it is not that deep. And I feel like it always comes down to that word, projecting. Everybody nowadays is projecting. Like, girl, let's have some emotional intelligence, really understand what that word means and when someone is actually projecting. Maybe it's you projecting, okay? Maybe you need to hold up a mirror to yourself and do some inner work, because the way that people are moving nowadays really baffles me. Like, the support of the toxic behavior really hurts my heart, because there is so much opportunity for people to grow as communicators and grow like within their relationships, but people are surrounding themselves with other people who are perpetuating that behavior. And it's like, girl, yes, you should have supportive friends, but you can't have just yes men around you and people who are just supporting your every little move, even if it's wrong. And I feel like that goes back to the whole girl conversation, which was such a topic of discussion in the villa this season and continues after the season is over. Like, if someone is not supporting your every single move, whether it's right or wrong, they are not a girl's girl. When in fact, a girl's girl is going to call you on your ish because your girl wants you to improve and wants you to do better. And she may not be delivering it in the way that you may want her to. She may be very blunt, but at the end of the day, it comes from a place of love. Like, it's not a personal attack on you and your character. And I feel like for Huda, every time someone brought up something that she may have done wrong in the villa, she took it as a personal attack and, you know, was crying and was emotional. And I'm not saying it's not good to be emotional, like feel how you feel and cry, but also, like, I feel like there was a lack of empathy and understanding on her end, whether it was in relation to like a guy that she was pursuing or to her friends. And that all culminated into, you know, her experience, her crash outs, her behavior, and this, that, and the third. And it was just really crazy to watch, to be honest. Like, I feel for Huda and I have sympathy and empathy for her. And I did watch her call her daddy interview, and I can have grace for her and, you know, her lived experiences, because she's been through things that people should never have to go through. But again, however, that does not excuse the behavior that she showed to us in the villa. And I really hope that she, unpacks all of that in therapy and gets the help that she needs, because she deserves it. We all deserve it. We should all have, we should all have accessible healthcare and mental health care. Thank you very much. And I encourage us all to seek therapy wherever we can, because I am really flabbergasted by the behavior, because wow. On the topic of Huda and her crash out and her journey in the villa, I feel like something that kept coming up in her journey was boundaries and the lack of respect for boundaries. And this came up, with multiple people throughout the villa. But that's another thing that I feel like is always a topic of discussion, is putting boundaries in place and respecting said boundaries, which again, I feel like comes down to like a lack of empathy from people and a lack of emotional intelligence and understanding. Like, all of this can be resolved with communication, thoughtful, intentional communication, and active listening. Active listening was non-existent on Fiji. Okay. Like, I feel like no one was listening to each other, and people were not seeing each other's side of the story in many couples. And I was like, this is interesting. Like, I feel like, well, yes, if you're sympathetic or empathetic, you may not see someone's side of the story, but at the end of the day, that doesn't matter if the impact does not match the intention. You know what I mean? Active listening is definitely a thing that I feel like is lacking in younger generations and like just people dating today, but also on the boundaries. And again, active listening, it comes down to that thoughtful, intentional communication. Exhibit 3021, Miss Amaya Papaya, when she was stood around the fire pit at the Stand on Business Challenge, and all these grown men were going in on her, that no. Why? No. That was actually crazy. And I feel like with her specifically, we all saw like the whole boundaries thing was a common thread throughout all of her connections until, she coupled up with Brian. And the fact, I knew I didn't like Zach for a reason. I knew he irked me for a reason. And then he started going in on Amaya during that challenge and saying things that he didn't even say to her in private. I said, get him off, babe. Send him back to Manchester now, because what? Are you joking, man? Are you joking? It really did me in, and I was ready to see him go. But luckily Brian stepped in at that challenge and, was supportive and, stood up for her. But the way that people were going in on the way homegirl was expressing herself was truly mad to me. She was misunderstood, and sometimes maybe in the beginning with some of her initial connections, she misunderstood the boundaries piece as well. But again, it comes down to the communication and understanding. I feel like from especially her first 3 connections, those men did not understand her and who she is. And it seems like they didn't even seek to understand. The lack of seeking to understand really irks me and leads to, those negative things that we saw in the villa and see outside in the real world in modern dating. Like, people are not seeking to understand one another, and it, causes all of this discourse and people fighting and like the gender wars and this, that, and the third. And it's like, y'all, what happened to empathy? Like, again, what happened to empathy? What happened to civil communication? I'm truly oh, y'all, the way the world is moving sometimes I'm like, really, what is going on? But you know what? I'm going to continue to have the faith and have, optimism that we're all going to make it through and the earth is not going to die in like 20 years. But anywho, I wish that people nowadays were just more willing and open, like I feel like they were in the past. Like, in the past, people were, open to different opinions and open to different ideas. But the way that we've moved nowadays, especially with the rise of social media, you can easily be sucked into your own little world and be, scrolling on an algorithm that feeds you and feeds what you want to see. And that can lead to what we're seeing today, like these pockets of people who can ultimately be dangerous to society. And that's really scary to think about. But I hope and pray that we continue to swing the pendulum back, towards the middle into a space where we can all be civil, be normal, and have normal conversation that doesn't lead to, storming the Capitol on January 6th. Thank you. With that and the conversation on dating, I wanted to talk about the experiences of dating as a Black woman, because that is the experience that I am speaking from. And we also saw some of the things that Black women go through when navigating love in the dating space displayed on our screens for all of us to watch during the season of Love Island. And I want to start off with Miss Alandria, my queen, my sister, my girl. I already touched on her a little bit in the beginning, but truly, y'all, I am Nicolandria Nation. I love them together. I love that they're so happy together. And honestly, at the end of the day, I just love seeing Black women being loved out loud, because that does not happen often. And the way Taylor was moving really irked me. I mean, he found his Black queen in the end, but the way he was treating my girl, Alandria, was not flying. And I'm so glad that she finally found her way back to someone who truly cares about her and truly values herself. But I feel like I see so much of myself in Alandria, in the sense that she, I believe, is the oldest child. And I am also the eldest child in my direct household, also the eldest daughter. So that's, a fun time, the eldest daughter in an immigrant household. If you know, you know. But in this season, she expressed different things that have affected her dating journey, such as putting others first and not, really expressing her emotions. And I definitely resonate with some of those things, especially, putting others first and not prioritizing yourself. Like after that Soul Ties kiss, when she was saying like, oh, I felt so guilty and was thinking about Sierra, like, girl. And then she was lying to herself about, oh, there was no spark. Like, girl, the worst lies are the ones you tell yourself. Okay, like we all saw that kiss and we all replayed it 10,000 times. I know, because I did it. Anyways, I feel for her. And then also the not expressing her emotions and being strong throughout the season. I was like, oh, that made me so sad, the way she wasn't like expressing her, especially her negative emotions. I'm glad she like kind of got her lick back during, I think it was the Stand on Business challenge, when she started to go in on Taylor and, express how she was angry and upset with the way he was moving. And I was like, yes, girl, please speak your truth. But I wish she did that more often. Not necessarily like crashing out and yelling, but I wish she expressed those emotions more often throughout the season, because that is a real and valid experience. And that is the experience of a lot of Black women, whether they're dating or navigating any type of situation outside in the real world. The lack of expressing our emotions is a real thing, and the lack of feeling safe to do so is a very real thing. But I'm glad that she has found Nicolas, and they are, pursuing their connection outside of the villa. But I really feel for her, and the delusion that she was I guess living through when pursuing Taylor, and not really recognizing that he didn't like her when he was pursuing that romantic connection. Because I personally didn't really start dating until, honestly, now, like, because I grew up in an immigrant household, and dating is never really talked about. Like, it's always just grades, get good grades, go to college, be successful, get a good job, this, that, and the third. And so I didn't really date in high school. In college, I like downloaded the apps, but I wasn't really doing too much, to be honest. I was truly like too scared to be doing all that. And I was just like still too nervous in my head about things. But then when I graduated, I was like, okay, girl, we are really going in. And I was doing my little one too. I've been doing my little one too. And it's been fun. It's been interesting for sure. Very interesting. But it's been interesting to navigate dating a little bit later in life, because when you are going into it, I'm going into it like behind a lot of people. You know what I mean? Because I didn't date younger, it's definitely a knowledge gap that I have to bridge. Like, a lot of people who date younger, that experience is, as much as like the younger relationships in your life can be like crazy and super tumultuous, that is knowledge that you use when you're dating as an adult. And that is knowledge that I don't have. Like, it's easy, especially for people who are, you know, in similar lived experiences as myself. Like, it's easy for us to not recognize like what's good and bad from a person. Like, what should I expect as like acceptable behavior, and what should I not tolerate, because that wasn't talked about in the household. You know what I mean? So I gained that knowledge from friends, from the internet, TikTok, to be honest, and like my lived experiences as I'm navigating it. But it would be better if I had that knowledge from when I was younger. And that, I feel like, can definitely be a setback for women of color navigating, who didn't grow up dating and doing all that stuff. So I can feel, because of that, I can see some parts of myself in Alandria, which is why I feel like I like love her so much, and love her and Nick together so much, and just love my girl down. But yeah, even as I started navigating dating, when I first like moved to Ohio and was like just chatting it up with the girls, yeah, we would talk about like our dating experiences, and like, oh, I went on this date and met this guy or whatever. And a lot of my friends would share their experiences and have stories to tell. And mind you, these are like white girls speaking. And disclaimer, I have friends from all different races, thank you very much. But when I talk to like my white friends, they would always be like, you know, they would have stories to tell, but I did not. Like, I was not getting swiped on them apps. Mind you, it was Ohio, and like, you know, whatever. I was in the city, but still it's not Houston, Texas. You know what I mean? So there was a moment in time where I was like, is something wrong, babes? Like, there was definitely a moment where I was questioning myself, but then I was like, girl, I had to remind myself who the F I am and stand up. Like, I had to remind myself, girl, you're fine. Like, even if you don't meet your person out here, that's okay, because Ohio was never the end goal for you. So I just had to remind myself of that and remind myself of who I am. But that comparison piece can really do you in for a period of time. Like, it's not nice to not feel wanted. You know what I mean? It's not nice to not feel desired and to not be chosen at the end of the day. That is not a good feeling. And Black women feel it often because nobody really likes us for real. Like, hello, there's been studies that have been shown on dating apps in the category, in the gender, in the gender, whatever. For women on dating apps, Black women are the least swiped on. And for men, I believe it's Asian men. Like, hello, are we okay? Like, what's wrong? What's wrong with the melanated queens? What's wrong with the Nubian goddesses? Hello? It makes me so upset. And I want more for my sisters. I want better for my sisters. And yeah, it just doesn't feel good to not be chosen. And I feel for Alandria, but again, I'm glad that she has found her Nicholas. And on the topic of Nicolandria, I really don't understand the discourse on the whole interracial dating thing and people doubting specifically their relationship. Like, in the interviews that I've seen them do post Villa, people are like, did you feel like any pressure to like pursue your relationship together? And I'm like, girl, why would you ask such a dumb question? Because they are in the Villa with no phones, no nothing. They didn't see all the hype that they were getting from us until Family Day. And even on Family Day, yes, their families are like, oh, people were rooting for you on the outside, and they had their date with the letters, but that is not the full context of what has been going on in the real world while they were in the villa. So that really irked me. Like, why are people doubting the connection? Like, why are people doubting that Nick could like Alandria and Alandria could like Nick back? Honestly, though, actually, in the beginning, I thought Alandria was not taking Nick very seriously and was like, this is just my friend. But then that soul ties kiss happened, and I said, oh, yeah, we're down bad. We are in it. I'm talking about in it, sister. And I live for it. I live for it. And I'm happy that she's happy. And I feel like the interracial dating thing could probably be a whole podcast episode in and of itself. But like the pressure, the societal imposed standard on Black women to like keep things in the race and not date outside of our race is like tired. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired because, like I said, nobody likes us for real. So what else are we supposed to do when the people within our race don't like us? We are going to go outside. We're going to go outside. And I don't feel like there's anything wrong with that, especially if you're in a new city and in the context of being a transplant. Like, if you just move somewhere new and you're a singleton ready to mingle, I would encourage you to explore what you haven't explored before and get rid of whatever you say is your quote unquote type, because you're in a new city. You're, in a new environment. You never know what you will find. You never know what people you're going to meet. So, treat it as a little experiment, get rid of your types, because that can lead to a connection that, you never know. It could be the love of your life. And I wish that some people in the villa followed that same advice. I'm looking at you, Mr. Pepe. Jose. Yeah, I'm pulling out that government name because you got a type. And in the post villa interview that I saw, he was like, oh, I don't have a type. I just ended up going for all the sweet girls. You know what I mean? Like, girl, again, the worst lies are the ones you tell yourself. And Mr. Mans likes the blondes. Even Alandria clocked that. She said that in her confessional, and we all saw that when watching the show from the outside. But hey, I digress. You do you. Anywho, hey, I'm rhyming. I'm just glad that the Black women on this season of Love Island, for the most part, most of them found, real meaningful connections that, appear to be doing well thus far. And, I wish everyone, on the show all the best. But again, I'm just so happy to see my Black woman being loved out loud and men not being afraid to express that love out loud. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. But yeah, let me know if you want to do more podcast episodes on, I'm going to do more podcast episodes on dating in general, but like specifically the interracial dating and more discussion about dating as a Black woman, because there's a lot that we can unpack there. But in conclusion, this season of Love Island was a whirlwind. Was it a good season? I don't know. I'll leave that up to you to decide. But the biggest takeaway that I can take from this season, again, is like the resilience that people have and the conviction that they have in who they are and knowing who the hell they are from the jump. A lot of people in this villa, a lot of people will be mad, and I'll name them. We really saw the power of staying true to who you are, staying true to your beliefs and your morals, no matter how many people are, bashing you, are attacking you, this, that, and the third. The power that, self-confidence and self-trust can have is immeasurable. And I feel like Amaya Papaya is a testament to that, because ultimately she won the show. And we loved her for her personality and her standing 10 toes down on who she is. And again, I feel like that's such a good reminder to take navigating dating and truly just navigating the world in general, because the world is set up to knock you down, unfortunately. But we get back up when it knocks you down. Thank you. Anywho, please leave your takes on this season of Love Island in the comments below. I would love to chat with you about it. And if you're watching the UK season that's going on right now, please let me know. I haven't started it because I was too invested in USA and I didn't have the mental capacity for stupidity across 2 different countries. So I was not really about to do all that. Maybe I'll start it now because at the end of the day, I'm a UK girly. But let me know if you're watching. That concludes today's episode. Please be sure to follow Transplants Podcast on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads, and subscribe to Transplants wherever you listen to podcasts. Thank you so much for listening, and remember, you're not as alone as you think.